So when it was time to end the training, they said they had presentations to make. And I sat in that room, one after the other. These women had mapped out their communities. Not only had they done context analysis, they've done stakeholders analysis. They had also gone into seeing where they would find resources. And I just sat there amazed. But what that woman did for me was to tell me, Leymah, fold that degree, put it back in the suitcase, and regain your confidence in the ability of grassroots women. Mm-hmm. One of the groups decided, why don't we bring Liberian women? So we went, called back to Liberia, and brought a truckload of some of the women you saw in the film to Freetown. So they came through the borders. And for 7 days, we traveled that entire country on something called a peace train. When the elections ended, the one who won, who's the current president, presented a certificate to the Liberian women and to the women of Sierra Leone saying they were able to have peaceful elections because of the actions of the women. Over time, when we find ourselves in a privileged, quote-unquote, privileged position, we tend to forget where the actual power lies. Most times, I get people in this country ask me what it is that we can do to help your situation. And we had this long conversation, some women and I, coming from Sheryl Sandberg's house in San Francisco the night before the Nobel announcement. Because there was a whole room full of very wealthy people that would probably have raised maybe 200,000, 300,000 if I had created the African story as pathetic, sad, depressing, the way people like to hear it. But when one person asked, what can we do? I said, look around San Francisco. There are homeless people. There are young girls living lives that need mentors. If you do that, you would have helped me in my quest for social justice. That wasn't a very good answer. In a room of very wealthy people. Yes, we know, but what can we do? And then Sharon had to step in to say, okay, you can contribute to her organization and do this and do that. But I didn't feel right. So we drive from her house to the airport with someone else driving, and one of the women said to me, my guide, she said, Leymah, one thing you need to understand, we feel when we give to Africa, we're purging ourselves of the guilt for seeing the needs in our communities and not taking action. But over time, as we've traveled, I've traveled from Liberia to other places, it has become very evident to me that there is no change or there is no way to purge yourself of your guilt. As Liberian women, we can shut our eyes constantly and continue to celebrate the elections of Africa's first female president. And right at our doorstep, teenage pregnancy is 3 to 10, 145 to every 1,000. In some communities, teen prostitution is so bad that people say you wake up in the morning, you see used condoms like candy wrap. We can't continue to say we did it and now we can go out there and help other people, because gradually those things that we're shutting our eyes to will open our eyes and they've confronted, they're right in front of us, like the young children will say, in your face. You move from Africa, we move from our setting, come to this setting. And over time, women have gotten to, all of us, really, to the place, especially those of us who live and reside, and we find ourselves in quote-unquote comfort. It's easy for us to forget that we have a struggle. And it's never ending. We may pretend that it's not there because we have good jobs, we're sleeping in warm beds. But as we avoid touching those major issues in our communities, issues have a way of coming straight in our faces. And it's been very interesting for me to come to America over the last few days and listen to men talk about the reproductive thing of women. And at the Women in the World Summit, I said it's time for women of this country to stop being politely angry. I have a hard time thinking about people running campaigns for reproductive rights of women in Nigeria and Liberia and Sierra Leone, and it's in your face. I think it's about time that the message for me on this Women's History Month is to look at Pray the Devil Back to Hell, look at what the women of Liberia did, go back to Sierra Leone, look at what those women did, and say to yourself, how can we connect the dots? How can we network? Because it's not just your issues, it's our issue and women's issues. Someone say, do you see a difference in women's issues across the world? I said, when it comes to women's issues, there is no way anyone can say there versus here. It is one and but the same. You may say the magnitude is totally different, but when it comes to the advocacy, it's the same. Why do we come to the UN every year for a commission on the status of women? It's because globally our issues are the same. Why do we all celebrate all of these international resolutions, 1325, 1820, Beijing, CEDAW? It's because we all have the same issues. Tonight, my message to you is how can we, together, not as white and black, Africans and non-Africans, Americans and non-Americans, but as women, like the women of Liberia, use our similarities to deal with some of the issues that we see in our faces. How do we make our issues priority? How do we ensure that tomorrow, everything that we've done, Abby's beautiful film, leads, and all of the different groups, we have young women who can follow and take over. It's not just good enough to purge your conscience by writing a check. Sometimes, even in the space you find yourself, and people say, well, I'm not at a place where I'm able to reach out to local communities. But over time, I've learned that when you have the eyes, the ears, and the heart for women's issues, it doesn't matter where you're situated. And I've learned that from Abby. Many times people tend to think, when I started visiting her, someone said, Leymah, I bet that woman's children are brats. Because that's the notion of rich white people, their kids are brats. And I said, no, they're actually some of the most respectful children I've seen. Really? Yes. I said, but also one of the things that I know is that their mother have done so well by opening their eyes to the struggle of the world, that it's not just about them, but that they, even with what they have, you exist in a world that if that world is not okay, what you have, you can't enjoy. And over time, I've seen them respond to critical issues when we have conversations. I've seen them be interested in what I do. They want to know what is happening. They are excited when I'm around. And it's not because in their world, if they didn't have that kind of schooling, I would not matter. There'd just be one other African woman coming to visit our mom. But today they want to know, what are you up to? And when she talked about, spanking, I have gotten to the place where I feel like when I talk and reach out, there is an understanding like, okay, this is our aunt talking to us. So I don't want us to feel like I'm at this place and I can't reach out. There was this old lady who asked me once on one of my trips, what can I do? These children in our communities, they are horrible. And then I said to her, man, do you sit on your porch, and this is like one of these Midwest cities? She said, yes. I said, do you see those girls pass in the short skirts and they're showing their boobs and moving around? She said, oh, I see them all the time. I said, how many times do you see them pass in front of your house when you're sitting there? She said, many times. I said, you know why they're passing in front of you? She said, no. I said, they're looking for your attention. We need mentorship. Do you see us? If you don't help us get straight, we will continue to be in your face. I said, just make the mistake of calling one of them and saying, I want to be your friend. Those things that their mothers have never heard, you will hear. The directions that they cannot take from their parents, they'll take it from you. We all have a role, specifically as women, in making this world that we live in a beautiful place, a safe place, a peaceful place. But if we continue to follow the way our societies have taught us, it's not your issue, don't get involved. Before we know it, that issue will be in our face. Like the men have been invisibly waving your private parts as they talk about your reproductive health. That's what they've done. Taking a woman's private parts, put it on TV, dissect. You don't see it, but it's there. And it's appalling.